Welcome everybody to April's Tea and Tarot. I've got my tea here and today we're having honey lemon ginger because it's a cold day. And we are going to unbox the Slavic Oracle today. I know we just did an unboxing last month and I don't plan to do unboxings every month, but last month, we did the unboxing of the Golden Wheel Tarot, which is based on Slavic themes and symbols. And this month, the Slavic Oracle finally just arrived that I put the Kickstarter in several months ago. So I thought, well, we'll continue 1 month more with this theme, and then next month we'll move on to something like tarot and astrology, or we won't do an unboxing. But I'm super excited because this means with this card that we can get a little more mileage out of this wonderful booklet called Slavic Fairy Tale Tarot Spreads by Masha Lapierre. And it's just this little slender booklet, but it's chock full of wonderful layouts. And last month we did the Domovoi layout for guidance about how to call in a house spirit. And today I was thinking that maybe we would do the birch layout, which is 3 cards. What is grounding me right now? What will guide my growth? And what do I need to know for the future? So I thought that would be kind of a nice, easy spread to do for this group. And I plan to also draw each person their own card from this deck today so that we can kind of learn about the cards by engaging with them. So I'm ripping open the plastic. So this is going to be the first time I've seen this deck, as well as probably any of you. And I have to just say right off the bat, the packaging for this deck is really nice. They made a beautiful box. It's a nice, durable, hard-sided box so that you can actually keep the cards in there. And it's got a little kind of tree of life pattern on the inside, which is very pretty. And then we have the deck, and the deck is got a little plastic on it, and here's the book. And this is a good size little book. So it's not going to be just sort of like a sheet of paper, which is nice. So let me pull the plastic wrap off. Those will never fit into that plastic wrap again. And it's pretty great that the first card in the deck is the ancestors. So it looks like it goes A to Z. Let's see who's the last one. The last one is talisman. So this looks like it goes in alphabetical order the way it's been given. And the talisman here is a Motanka doll. That's a Lithuanian, I think it's Lithuanian doll that is a faceless doll that you create in to ward evil out of the house. So as we go through these cards, we're gonna learn more about them. I think what I'm gonna do, since it's only 33 cards in the deck, is I am gonna just show them to you one at a time, kind of briefly, but I'm not gonna read the book about each one. I'll just show them with commentary. And then after that, we'll each pull I'll pull cards for each of you, and then I'll read from the book. So as I mentioned, the first card is ancestors, and it shows 5 settings at the table. There are 4 human beings, a mother, a father, and 2 children. And or maybe it's not a mother, father, it could be a sister and brother, I don't know, but a male, a female, and then 2 children, also male and female. And you'll see that all across Slavic mythos. There's very much a masculine, feminine kind of binary that is used in magic. But there's a 5th person at the table who is in ghostly form, and that's the person at the center, and their plate is empty, you notice, and they're not kind of see-through. And I'll just say, growing up in a Polish household, for all major holidays, we always set a place at the table for what my dad called the unknown traveler. He said, we're setting a place at the table, and we had a specific little ritual that we did where we would put some straw underneath the tablecloth, underneath that plate setting, which I'm presuming is an agrarian custom related to the Polish belief that when their body dies, they fertilize the fields and they live on in the soul of the grain that's grown there. Because that's a theme that comes up in a lot of Polish poetry, and is like that idea of becoming the wheat or becoming the straw or becoming the rye. So anyway, when I grew up with this custom, we would put this little bit of straw under the tablecloth, and then we would put their empty plate there, and we wouldn't. But it's interesting because nowadays a lot of us who have ancestor practices actually put food on the plate for the ancestors. Like, I know I do, but here the plate is empty. And when I was growing up, we never actually put food on that plate. We would just have the plate like there and waiting. So just a little interesting note on the ancestors. The next card is Banish, and it shows the drowning of the Kupala figurine. There's a banishing ritual that's done in spring to carry away any, I think it's done in spring, to carry away any negativity, and it involves creating an effigy, parading it through the streets, and people like throw things at it and get all their negative energy out on the effigy. And then you take the effigy out of town, you light it on fire, and throw that flaming effigy into a living body of water. Definitely not the most environmentally sound practice. Throwing flaming straw dolls into a body of fresh water. But it is an old custom that was done to purge disease and negativity and evil from a village. And so, or it's the drowning, not the cupola, the Marzana, the drowning of the Marzana, Marzana is how you spell that. So that's also a Polish custom and probably takes place in other Slavic nations as well. Okay, so number 3 is courage. And this is a really beautiful image, very relevant. You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to put myself on speaker view. Sorry if that is in spotlight. So for the video for later, because I know some people have said, when you unbox, I can't see because I see everybody else's faces. So this card is showing a woman, her skirt's all hiked up, and she's going to jump over the fire. She is wearing one of the crowns that is usually used in wedding ceremonies and marriages. And so I think that this is symbolic of actually jumping of the bonfire at, the Celtic name for the holiday is Beltane, but it's all across Europe got a representation, and jumping over fires is not specifically focused only on Celtic culture. So this is courage, and she's taking her leap. And now we have, okay, this is amazing. We've got, I love this deck. This card is called Curse, and it shows a woman. She is, I think this is depicting one of the whispering witches, the Sheptusha. They are the women that you go to when you think you've got some kind of curse placed on you. They put a handkerchief over your head, as you see here. There's a person with a handkerchief over their head. And then they take these little flax fibers and they place these little flax fibers on your head. And then they use a candle to burn those flax fibers off. And they whisk the flaming flax fibers, say that 3 times fast, off your head with the handkerchief. So I'm pretty sure that this is what we're seeing here, is this ritual of the removal of a curse via the Sheptusha, or whispering witch. Well, and usually she whispers prayers. Generally speaking, there's some specific words and sometimes Bible verses. There are different traditions of this. And these women are found in Belarus and also in southern Poland. Okay, so now, oh my gosh, I love this. This is called The Cut, and it shows a woman in her bridal crown, these tall floral crowns, tall crowns made of fresh flowers. These are crowns that are used for celebrating marriages and major rites of passage. And she's got this woman here who's got scissors and is cutting off the end of her braid. And if I'm not mistaken, this is going to be a marriage custom that a woman gets a small piece of her hair cut just before her wedding or after. So we'll see if anyone gets this card, if we find out more. But usually that's the ritual, is that a bit of her own hair is cut, symbolizing the ending of her maiden time and her going into her mother time, or her married time. Here we have the dance, and it's showing one of the many famous circle dances. From the costume here, this could be Poland, this could be Macedonia. The women are in colorful skirts with embroidered aprons and are all wearing headdresses, headgear. Their heads are covered, which is common amongst married Slavic women to cover their heads. Even to this day, they'll wear like a little scarf or a little something if they go out. Not always, but it's even amongst modern women. And the men are in the loose trousers with the vests and tunics. So this is like their dance of life. And here we have death. And this is really interesting because it's a very, it's a significant departure from, but seems related to the card of the ancestors. So remember how in the card of the ancestors, the people have on like pretty modern clothing, and it's not like any specific traditional dress. And then we have all these cards here with traditional dress and traditional head coverings and things like that. But now we get to death, and death shows a cross, a huge prominent cross, which is very common. Christianity is very common, Catholicism specifically, but also Byzantine Catholicism or Eastern Orthodox Christianity is very popular in Slavic countries. There's obviously a picture of the person and a placard. There's all these plants and flowers, looks, all around. And then there's all these breads and foods. It looks like it's a memorial repast, but the people are in modern clothing. And interestingly, the outfits are modern, the foods look modern. Take a look. It looks kind of like a modern, 20th century kind of a picnic. There's nothing here that's looking super, symbolic or traditional. We'll see if that is the case. But one of the things that I think is interesting about this card that strikes me is that that there's obviously it's a memorial, but that there's also maybe here a little bit of the death of the old ways of doing things and more modern interpretations. And are they eating on a grave? That's a really good question. They've got picnic blankets here. There's this gray, maybe this gray is the tomb. Shall we go look in the book? Maybe the death card is worth open and crack the book a little early. Radonitsa is a joyful remembrance of those who died on the second Monday or Tuesday after Easter. Families clean the graves of their loved ones, you got it, Demi, and feast alongside their spirits. And eggs, pancakes, and kutia are among the uneven number of dishes to be eaten on tables put near the grave or directly on the grave of the deceased. This is the springtime version of autumn's ancestral veneration holiday, Giadi. Unlike Giadi, Radonitsa acknowledges death's connection to birth. In folk tradition, this day would also mark the beginning of marriage season. And contrary to Giadi, Radonitsa has been embraced by the church and even by governments. The Russian Orthodox Church calls on its members to commemorate the dead during this time, and the Belarusian government has even declared it a national holiday. So yeah, good eye there, Demi, seeing that it was a grave that they were actually sitting on. So, okay, let's look. Divination. And divination shows a bunch of floral wreaths with torches flowing down a river. And the first one is lit, the other two are not lit. But the third one is lit, but you don't see the flame on the second one. And I know that there is a form of divination where you go to find out about who you're going to marry, where you go and you float a wreath on a river in springtime. Now that I've cracked the book, I'm really curious. Let's see. Yeah, this is on summer solstice. Usually women put wreaths in with a candle in the river and then petition for a beloved. So this is a love magic ritual under divination. How do we find out who our beloved is going to be? This is really an interesting, scary looking card. This is called Drain. And there is what looks like a demonic kind of a force pulling at the life force of a person, or pulling at the life force, their spirit. Well, now I want to know. Drain. Yeah, okay, so this is a vampire. This is a vampire card. Yeah, we all know what this feels like, right? This is a card about a vampire draining someone of their life force, but it's also related to another kind of Slavic belief that some spirits after they die don't rest and will come and try and pull at the life force of their families or their beloveds, even from beyond the grave. If I draw this next card, I'm going to be so mad. Exercise. Exercise is a huge thing in Slavic countries. Many of us have seen how, like, the videos of, under communism, it became like a national institution, and you see all these videos of people in jumpsuits, matching jumpsuits, doing calisthenics and exercises. But even before it was like a state mandated activity, exercise has a very long history in Poland, and of course lots of other nations, of being a very important part of the culture. And getting outside in fresh air is an important aspect of health and well-being. And doctors there are likely to prescribe that someone go spend time outdoors. This is really interesting. Now these three, this is fate. And these three weavers, the one who spins the cloth, the one who then measures it, and the one who cuts it, we're going to find them everywhere. We find this set of three in almost every culture on earth, especially cultures that draw heavily from the Greek influence, but before that, the African influence. You're going to find versions of sacred three women who, three female beings who decide the course of life. You're going to find it everywhere from Nigeria to Egypt to Slavic countries to Rome and ancient Greece. So we have the three fates, and there they are measuring the life, and they have in the crib in front of them the baby, determining his fate or her fate from the very beginning. Our next is fertility. And what a great symbol of fertility, the Matryoshka dolls. Those nesting dolls where there's one inside another, and they get littler and littler and littler. As many of us know, when even when you are in the womb of your mother as a woman, all of your children are already in your body. So the idea of the Matryoshka doll and the nesting of our destinies inside of our mothers, that we were already alive in some form, cellular form, that far back. Obviously a lot of factors had to come together for us to be here and be us, but the Matryoshka doll is great. Vanessa says, as I eat my frozen yogurt. Oh, thank you, Jennifer. The gate pose, that's interesting. Thank you for that. Okay, the next card is called Fight, and is the Winged Hussar. The Polish army has a very long history of being one of the most ferocious mercenary armies on earth, and very ferociously defensive of Poland. And this is because Poland has been partitioned 3 times into not existing as a nation over the course of the last several hundred years. There have been 3 separate times when the surrounding nations just divided Poland up and erased it as a nation. And every single time, Polish people have come back and regrouped and reconvened their nation and redeclared themselves a nation. But it's involved a lot of battle, a lot of war. And the Winged Hussars are warriors who would mount these racks of feathers on and metal on their backs. Like it was not actual feathers, but like metallic feathers. And when they would ride across the plain, the wind would make a sound like screaming through the metal of their ornaments, their armor. And the screaming sound would be a way to terrify whatever army they were facing, because you'd hear them coming before you'd see them. You'd hear the screams and you'd hear this like ferocious sound coming before then seeing in the distance. And these metal armatures made each soldier look really big from a distance. So their enemy might be like on a hill looking and see like, oh my God, there's these giants and they're coming toward us and they're all screaming, and they might be a little bit more nervous. So fight. So this is an interesting one. It's called gender, and I'm uncertain. Let's see what this is going to say. Uncertain what is being implied by this card. It shows 2 children playing. So let's read it. On Easter Monday in Czechia, boys douse girls with water and then whip them on their legs or their butts with a braided whip made of willow twigs. That's true. That actually does happen. It happens in Poland too. The switch is decorated with ribbons and is called pomlaszka. It's believed that gently whipping the girl with this will bring her good health and fertility and beauty. And then after the girl is whipped, now this is like not a whipping, but it's just like it's hard to explain. This is like one of those things where a Polish woman who's like done this, I'm sitting here going, I can't explain this. But like, I remember growing up, like my dad would bring home pussy willows before Easter. And then the day after Easter was Dingus Day, which is the version of this holiday. And he'd chase my sister and I around the house jokingly, like swatting us with these pussy willows, like, bopping us on the heads or flicking water at us. And it was symbolic of blessing us with health and fertility and, good lives. And so sometimes when, but it's also done like in other ways, but sometimes when a boy goes and whips a girl with the pussy willows, she gives him an egg and some chocolate and a shot of alcohol, probably vodka, as a thank you. And although this may have originated as a pagan rite to chase away evil spirits and illness, it's now one of the nation's most notorious fertility practices, laden with sexual undertones, where every part of the rite seems to mimic sex roles played by men and women. Despite this tradition having been denounced by some feminists, the practice is still embraced by girls who participated in it for fun, and also by superstitious women who believe that a little spanking will keep you young. Well, I'm not going to say anything more about a spanking keeping you young, but just leave it right there and say, it says here, basically you can, that the reason that they chose this for this card is so that we'll be reminded to have fun with gender roles, that we can conform, that we can bend them, that we can exploit them when needed, that we can act or not act in accordance to them, that they don't define us. They only allow us to express aspects of ourselves. Very interesting card. I can see why they would have a hard time choosing between the Matryoshka for fertility or this ritual, this ritual for fertility, and why then creating a card around gender would make sense to them. Okay, our next one is Harvest and depicts the big wreaths that get woven from the grains and fruits at the end of harvest season. Beautiful ceremonial crown that she's wearing that's of woven wheat and grain, and she's holding an enormous wreath with woven wheat and grain, and has some vegetables and fruits down at the bottom. And in the background, you can see the big bales of hay, the big stacks of, they look like loaves, but they're not, of grain. The next card is Healing, showing a ritual being done under cover of darkness with a drum. Hospitality, which is a cardinal virtue of Slavic culture. If someone comes to your house, you immediately invite them to sit down, have some tea, have something to eat. So this woman is clearly ready to receive guests and visitors. And she's sitting, looks like holding something in her lap that's like a little, looks like a cake covered with a cake plate. Okay, then here's Housekeeping. And housekeeping is also a really important virtue of Slavic culture, in that, it's believed in many different cultures in Eastern Europe that your house has a house spirit, that house spirit will get mad at you if you leave your house dirty, and then will start taking your things, hiding them from you, making you sick, creating little problems for you. And so it's kind of the house spirit is, I kind of think the house spirit is kind of an ancestral spirit in a way. It's, seems like it's that in a way, but it's also its own whole spirit. And you leave out little offerings for your house spirit. Usually leave a little vodka, some cake, which is what they have here. And then the house spirit will come in the night and bring back the things that it took from you, or will help you with little tasks. But it's the house spirit isn't like Harry Potter house elves. It's not like a spirit that you command and tell to do anything. It's not that. It's a house spirit is there to command you to do your housework, and they might help you with it if you're good. But if you're, it's more likely that you're going to be threatened that the house spirit will come pinch you in the night if you don't clean your room, than being promised that the house spirit will come and clean your room for you at night. The house spirit won't clean your room for you. They're more severe than that. I love this, this little horned being. And we'll see, maybe that's a depiction of a domovoi, which is what we were talking about last month. Illumination. And this depicts a woman carrying a torch. There are other candles around her, kind of mounted on the walls. Her face is half in the light and half in the shadow. Above her looked like crossed beams, almost as if she's in some secret place. So illumination, bringing light into the shadow. Here's love, a very sort of traditional heterosexual lover. I'm just going to mute you, Mary Beth, so that we're not part of your cough. So the, very traditional, they're both rising out of what looks like a lake with candles floating on it, probably celebrating a marriage. Mystery. I have a feeling that mystery represents the Rusalka, the water spirits. These are thought of as being either children who were killed as babies, or who died while they were still babies. Sometimes it's thought of as being the spirits of young women who were killed violently, but the origin isn't as important as what they become. The origin is usually with the Rusalka is that there was a spirit that died under an innocent spirit that died under inauspicious circumstances, and then went to live in the waters. And the Rusalka live in the waters, sort of like the sirens of Greek mythology, and they will lure men to their deaths. They will sing to them, they'll beckon them, and then at a certain point they grab them and they drag them down into the water, is the belief. But the Rusalka have a much more complicated mythos than this. They're not simply spirits that are unquiet and cause destruction. They're also they also bring love. They bring fertility. In the spring, you bring them offerings of gratitude for the love that's in your life, or for your partnership. In the winter, you bring them rags of like fabric and ribbons and rags that you tie on the branches of trees near a river, so that you can give them clothing for the winter so they won't be cold. That's the belief. These are spirits that are so old. They're older than the myths about their own origin. You know what I mean? Some spirits are like that. We've got lots of spirits in the world that have origin stories that are not necessarily, sometimes the origin story comes after the spirit has already been discovered. And that's what I think of as the Rusalka. I think they're the water spirits that over the world have become known as, in certain cultures, they're the mamiwatas. In other cultures, they're the mermaids. In other cultures, they're the sirens. In other cultures, they're depicted, in another way. But the whole world over, there are these water women. And So the Rusalka representing mystery is really appropriate. Okay, nature, pretty self-explanatory, a beautiful natural scene in a forest. An offering. This man looks like he's pouring from a drinking horn into milk into the fire. Really important thing about fire in Slavic culture, as well as in Mongolian culture. It's hard to sort of know. Probably these traditions originate in Mongolia, and then when Genghis Khan brings the Golden Horde across Europe and settles in the area we now, think of as Eastern Europe, he and his people brought a lot of Mongolian traditions that blended really well with the animistic traditions of the Slavic peoples. Slavic peoples were originally animists. Mongolian peoples are also animists. Both practice forms of shamanism that include drumming, trance, consumption of sacred substances, sometimes offerings. One thing that's really important, and this is really, especially for those of us who live like up here, I don't know about you, but we've got a fire going in the stove today to keep the house warm because it's so wet and damp out. You never put garbage in the fire. Never put garbage in the fire. You always put sacred things in the fire, like milk. You can put a little offering of vodka. You could put a little offering of milk. But one of the things that I've learned from my shamanic instructors is to never put garbage in the fire. That in fact, the spirit of the fire is thought of as like a young woman, and you wouldn't feed her garbage. You would give her nourishing things. So we don't throw trash in the fire in our house. I keep beeswax from divinations, and I use that as a fire starter. And I keep, paper, just plain paper, brown paper bags that haven't been soiled. I don't use trash. I use just like my brown paper grocery bags, but I rip them into strips, and I use all that as my fire starting material, and then kindling, of course, from the trees. But we would never put garbage in the fire. The other thing you never put in the fire is you never put anything that would extinguish the fire, like water. You don't make water offerings into the fire, and you don't put garbage into the fire. You can put a little milk, a little vodka, some handful of grain. The fire loves a piece of meat if you're a meat eater, specifically fatty meat. But so the offering here looks like he's pouring milk, maybe vodka. We'll see. This makes sense, says Demi. Fire is a special element. Yeah. Oh, that's right. And Jennifer says, like the Japanese kappa, it will pull you in the water. That's right. Like the Rusalka. Yeah. Fire is, you never want to piss it off. That's the key. You don't want to really ever piss off any of the elements, but that is the key. Now, this one is so interesting. It's called persistence. And it shows this person clinging to this pole, and there's all this stuff hanging from the pole. I have no idea what this means. During Maslenitsa, Shrovetide and Pancake Week, during the Maslenitsa festivals, Russians engage in a sport that symbolizes touching the sun. They shinny up tall aspen poles whose tops are decorated with ribbons and prizes. The poles are oiled and sometimes stand over 60 feet tall, but the climbers are determined to reach the top and claim the prizes. Okay, so that makes sense. He's shinnied up his oiled pole to try to reach the treasures that are at the top during Maslenitsa. All right, so this is very interesting. I have to say, I will be really interested check back in on the authors of this deck about a year or two from now and see how their lives are going after this card. They've decided to give Baba Yaga the label predator. I'm going to just say, and if you who have made this deck are watching what I'm saying with all loving respect, I say to you, you don't want to insult death herself. I can understand why, according to some of the folklore, she might be given this label. The later, more superficial folklore of Baba Yaga positions her as someone who eats babies and steals children, and is kind of like a story used by parents to scare their children into submission. Like, if you don't do this, Baba Yaga will come in the night and eat you. But the reality is, and Baba told me a long time ago, she said, no, I don't eat babies. I eat all of you. When we hear this myth of Baba Yaga taking babies, it's not so different from what we see depicted here in the Fate card, that from the moment a baby comes into the world, its measure has already been taken, and the time allotted to it has already been determined. And there's a date with destiny that's now slated to happen, that the child and no one around them can really know, but the goddesses know. Baba Yaga is the same way. Similar to other death deities of the world, she doesn't come to prey upon you. It's that when you meet her, it will be a time in your life when your life is coming to an end. Or if you are clever and valorous and courageous and you have a good heart, she'll actually reward you. So I'm going to see why the authors want to say this about Baba Yaga. In Slavic folklore, a Baba Yaga is a crone and wild witch who lives in a hut on chicken legs. She's known to be a trickster and a cannibal who can smell Russian blood. Although stories describe her as a dangerous predator, they also describe how wit, a kind heart, and magic can allow one to leave from her realm unscathed. In Vasilisa the Beautiful, the heroine is able to pass Baba Yaga's seemingly impossible tests with the help of her magical doll. In Baba Yaga and the Kid, the protagonist's wit enables him to outsmart Baba Yaga and her daughters. In Ivanushka, a young girl's kindness grants her allies who protect her from the villainous Baba Yaga. I'll just say this. I'm going to put a piece of tape over the bottom of this card because the art is beautiful, but the meaning is skewed. And I disagree strongly with positioning Baba Yaga this way. She is relief at the end of the journey. And she is the danger that every single one of us faces every time we get on a bus or get in a car or leave our houses. And she is the wisdom and the medicine that knows when to heal that which we have put asunder in nature. I think this is a very poorly done card. And I never criticize decks. You know, I'm really pretty positive about it, but I think this one is pretty poorly done. Be curious if you have anything you want to say in the comments about that. Maybe I'm being a little bit too defensive of Baba Yaga, but you know, I've had a relationship with her since I was 3 years old. Okay, so the next card is protection. And in this, we see like kind of mummers. What are their names? They have a great name. There's this dance that they do, protection. The kukeri. The kukeri are a Bulgarian practice where men and women dress up in these elaborate kind of, it's hard to explain the costumes. The costumes are like natural materials and fur and grass, and they're kind of very otherworldly looking, and sometimes they stand on stilts, and they're really, really mythic looking, and they come through annually to chase negativity out of the village. They'll be the ones who are, chasing negativity. So yeah, like Hansel and Gretel, could it represent the shadow self? And Vanessa says, I'm thinking about predators in nature. They don't discriminate. They're just doing what they naturally do. That helps me to neutralize the term for her. But overall, I think a much better word could have been used. Yeah, I agree. I mean, yeah, my cats, my little adorable 4-month-old kitten, Minerva, is not an evil queen every time she tries to kill one of the fake mice and bring it to me. And she like puts it in, her favorite thing is to take the fake mouse to the water dish, put it in the water dish, bring it out of the water dish, and then bring it and put it on my head when I'm in bed, is her favorite thing. But she's not like, is right. There's not like an emotional load behind this. She's just doing what she's doing. And yeah, it's an act of love, right? I've killed for you. Look. I think, I do think they should have chosen. I think they should have gone with like wise woman for her, or crone would have been okay. Because crones are sometimes really scary, but they're not inherently evil, and neither is she. Okay, so the protection kukeri are here chasing evil out of the village. Just a few more cards, and then I'm going to draw one for each of you. The Rebirth card shows kind of again, similar to a tree of life motif with the eggs, all of the different eggs. This is like Ukrainian egg art. In Ukrainian egg art, what you do, I took a class on it once somewhere. My mom has an egg that I made. You use wax, hot wax inside of, it's almost like you fill this pipette with hot wax, and then you use that hot wax pipette, which by the way is very difficult to hold because it's hot, to draw designs on the shell of the egg. And then you take the egg and you dip it into color, and then you chip the wax off that part and you wax over the other parts that have been colored, and you dip it into another color. So it's similar, it's like a batik process, like you do batik when you're dyeing fabric, where you use wax to block off the fabric so that it won't absorb a particular dye. It's the same thing when you do Ukrainian egg art. And the motifs featured are similar to Dutch hex signs. They're protective in nature, and they're meant to bring fertility, blessings, protection, good health, wealth, longevity. Rest, we have the very, proverbial theme here of this little girl with a bear. She's curled up, resting with a bear. Ritual. And this shows somebody dressed head to toe in leaves. And I'm not familiar with this one, so let's look it up. In the Podlasie region of Poland. Oh, that's interesting. That's where some of my family is from. In the Podlasie region of Poland, in Belarus, and in various regions of southern Slavic countries, a ritual is held to bring in all forms of abundance, from financial prosperity to rain. This ritual is called kust in Poland, and in southern Slavic countries, the practice is called paparuda or dodola. In ancient times, it was believed that this ritual could end droughts. One of the girls will become a living bush. She wears a skirt or full suit of herbs and leaves and leads a procession through the town, singing ceremonial songs appealing to the goddess for rain. I had no idea about this. I love this. I want to do this. I want to dress up in head to toe leaves and go parading down the streets of Dunsmuir singing for rain. I wonder how that would go over. Would you come sing with me maybe? So, and then as the girl is singing and walking, the people come out and they sprinkle her with water to symbolize the rain coming. The next card is called Sing, and is all about the harmonies of women singing folk songs, which many of you have probably heard Slavic women singing, and they do these amazing harmonies. There's a really great performance group in the Bay Area called Kitka, K-I-T-K-A, Kitka Ensemble. And that's a whole bunch of women from all over. They sing songs from Poland, Russia, the Czech Republic, Slovakia. They are really, really good. They've got lots of CDs. I highly recommend them. And there's, you know, lots of other groups like this as well. The laboratory piece, what are they called? The Laboratorium Pisnieki or something like that. There's a Polish women singing group that's like that as well. Okay, this is called Stand, and it looks like a stone carving, and I don't know anything about this one, so let's find out. Oh, it's carved in wood. Slavic pagans did make freestanding idols of their deities in wood, but these deities didn't stand forever. So unlike carving them in stone, they're carved in wood. But during the Christianization of Slavic lands, many of these idols were destroyed. Some were burnt, some were dragged down with ropes, some were drowned. But one idol outlasted all the others, and this was the idol of war, Svetovid. This idol was defended by the last Slavic pagan tribe to be defeated by the Danes, the Rani tribe. For more than 300 years, the Rani represented one of the last Slavic pagan strongholds. Despite most of Europe being Christian by the 12th century, the Rani continued to perform their pagan traditions and be a spiritual center for pagans years after Slavic leaders like Prince Vladimir of Kiev denounced paganism. So this is really about standing for what you believe in. And it's got wooden idols. Two more cards. Okay, the symbols. And all of these are various different symbols for the sun, for cellular division. There's a symbol for Mokosh up here. She's the goddess of fertility. These are like sun discs. And these are all protective motifs in Slavic embroidery. If you look at Hungarian, Polish, Russian, Ukrainian embroideries, they'll often have these symbols in the embroidery somewhere. And these symbols are like a language unto themselves. They tell a story. So I think that this card represents kind of how all of these different symbols in culture kind of carry over from the past till now, and that they're sometimes where we least expect them to be. We might expect we would see something really symbolic in a museum, but really we don't have to go any further than our grandmother's apron. And then last but not least, the Motanka doll, talisman, a talisman for magic, a magical tool or puppet in this case. Okay, so that's the deck. That's the 33 cards. I liked pretty much all of them, although that Baba Yaga card really has me mad. I'm actually probably going to totally write a letter to these people about this. I think it's possible that I'm going to write a letter. This is, you know, what my grandmother taught me. What do? You write a letter. So who would like a card? Let me pull this into gallery view so I can see who's still here. Who'd like a card? Feel free to give me a little wave. Okay, yeah, I'll go first. Demi first, then Vanessa, and then I'll look up and get some more here. So first, and what I'm going to do for your divination is I'm just going to read your card to you so you can see how it fits with what's going on in your life. And I have our spread, our birch spread here from this book. So I'm going to, first 3 cards, I'll draw. 1, 2, 3. Okay, bottom to top. The first 3 cards I draw will be for us collectively. So what is grounding me right now for, and this is applies for all of us, is our talismans. The card that came up was the Motanka doll. I'll read it aloud. Slavic rag dolls made with wound cloth serve as talismans to their owners. In Poland and Belarus, these traditional dolls can grant any wish and are known as zadanika. In Russia, this doll is called travnitsa, meaning herb doll, and in the Ukraine, the faceless doll is named Motanka. The Motanka doll is superstitiously made. Its creator must only assemble the doll whilst in good spirits and all in one session. The doll mustn't be made with the use of scissors or needles, and there should be no knots within the doll. The specific construction of the doll, in addition to its components, are crucial parts of its magic. If it's filled with coins, it will bring wealth. If the creator thinks good thoughts while constructing it, the Motanka will bring goodness to its intended owner. The creator can create a diverse range of dolls to satisfy a wide range of purposes, but the most popular types of Motanka dolls bring wealth, fertility, protection, and connection to one's ancestors. All Motanka dolls are believed to be capable of carrying the positive energy of the Ukrainian lands and the positive spirits of the Ukrainian ancestors who lived there. And the Motanka doll is able to do this because it's barred from having its own personality. That's the lack of facial features. If you put a face on a doll and you give it a personality, it's believed that then it will have a volition of its own. Whereas if you don't put a face on a doll, you're instead not giving it a spirit, you're letting it be a repository for energies that are more nondescript and faceless. So good luck, hope, beauty, comfort, prosperity, protection, safety. And one thing that it's saying is that if it comes up, it's saying this is where I am right now. So it says, you know, if you get this card, you will be able to fully relax and experience love, serenity, and good luck coming your way. So this would maybe be a good reminder to us all to look at whatever talismans we have in our possession. It could be a sacred doll like this one, but maybe it's something else. Maybe it's a special stone or a little animal figurine or something you've had since you were a child, your blankie, whatever it is that is like your protective talisman. Maybe we'll get that out and ground ourselves with it. Go dust it off, find where it is. What will guide my growth? And our card is rest. Rest will guide our growth. Cease work or movement in order to relax, refresh yourself, or recover your strength. Archaeologists believe that Neanderthals had a symbiotic relationship with the bear. These ancient peoples would follow bear tracks to find food and water, and would find shelter by following the bear into their caves. Findings suggest that not only did these people rest alongside the bear, but that they also worshipped the cave bears. Various cave excavations within Europe have revealed bear remains in unnatural positions that suggest that the bear parts were used in ceremony by early humans. These findings support the belief that the Neanderthals were part of the bear cult. Slavic mythology, traditions, and even linguistic study of Slavic languages support the idea that the bear could have been at the center of religious veneration and devotion. Within Slavic mythology, the chthonic deity Veles is seen as a bear. Within Slavic traditions, the resurrection of the bear from its hibernation is celebrated during the spring solstice holiday. So we're just a few weeks out from that. Komoditsa. Komeditsa is the name of that holiday. Within Slavic languages, respect for the bear is shown in that the word for bear is actually a substitute. The word for bear in Polish, Russian, and Czech actually translates as honey eater, not as bear, translates as honey eater. Linguists and folklorists detail that this is so because early Slavs had such fear and respect for the animal that they didn't want to unintentionally summon it by directly speaking its name. So that's very powerful, that we wouldn't say the name of something for fear of accidentally awakening it. Nowadays, Slavs are not afraid to call upon the bear. It's Russia's national animal. It's been featured in a wide array of media and Slavic folklore to portray cunning, strength, and most importantly, the need within us all to take some time out to rest. So I'm going to read more. Okay, I'm going to read this sort of whole part. It wasn't reversed. It says, you cause yourself more stress by going against the natural order of things. When you're tired, take a break. When you're inspired, get to work. When you align yourself and your projects to be in sync with the seasons of the earth, you will feel supported and at ease. And if you go against this, you will meet resistance and fatigue. More good will be done if you relax and do nothing. I don't think any of us is going to argue with this card. I have no argument whatsoever with this being what will serve my growth. Let's wait, watch, and listen. And actually in the temple, this whole week, all our divinations have been about wait, watch, perceive, listen, follow your intuition. So there is like a little bit of a sacred pause. And with this Scorpio moon, the Scorpio moon that's coming this week, it cuts pretty deep. It's a deep moon. And so I think probably for all of us, it's a good time to just take some rest and reflection. And then our last card of where will I be headed in the future is that card that I found confusing, the gender card. So we're going to look at, I've already read it once, but I'm going to look at its meanings again. So the meanings of the gender card can indicate attraction, fertility, flirtation, fun, innocence, innuendo, the Lupercalia, femininity, masculinity, nature and roles, simplicity, youth, but it also can indicate feminism, discrimination, as in discernment, also sexism, inequality, a journey, or even having a stalker. And it says you will be simply able to have fun and be yourself, doing whatever comes natural to you without having the pressure of feeling like you have to act or not act in any certain way. Some doors will close while others will open solely based on who you are and what you have to offer. So lighten up and have some fun. Not everything has to be taken so seriously. Just enjoy your life and enjoy your body. And I do think this is a very good piece of advice for us all. You know, we are so trapped in not only gender roles. Gender roles are part of what traps us, but we're also trapped in socioeconomic roles. We're also trapped within roles that are assigned to us because of our ethnicity or our race. We're often assigned to us of roles that we get trapped in even by our own families. For anyone who's like the baby of your family, do you ever escape being the baby of your family? For anyone who's the eldest in your family, do you ever escape being the eldest in your family? A lot of the roles that we have been taught to believe are actually completely illusion. And I think everybody knows this. I think everybody knows this. Like, there's nothing inherently male about being the CEO of your own company. There's nothing inherently female about being compassionate. We all have all of it. We all have the capacity for all of it. So I think the innocent fun that's depicted here is like, you know, I can hear my dad's voice, like, don't get your panties in a wad, just like relax and enjoy life. And I kind of feel like that's a pretty good breakdown of this card, is like, where are we headed? If we really want to live the lives that we want to live collectively, we should probably stop trying to satisfy any role and instead just live authentically to who we are and not have it really be even about roles. So that's our collective divination. So then for Demi, and then for Vanessa, and then who else wanted a card? And Mary Beth and Simone. Mary Beth and then Simone. All right, let's gonna start there. So Demi, you got the curse removal card. So let's read it. Within the deep countrysides of Slavic nations reside whispering witches who use linen bundles, candles, and prayers to rid people of negativity, illness, and curses. There is also one living in the deep wilds of Dunsmuir. In Russia, this witch is called a Znakarka, and in Poland, she's the Sheptusha. Although outsiders would consider their practices to be pagan, many of these witches actually consider themselves Christian. These women and their rituals are prime examples of the dual faith seen in Slavic countries called dvojery, where pagan practices and Christianity are syncretized. One ritual employed by the Sheptusha, known as the Order of the Rose, involves the witch murmuring prayers, Christian prayers, and then employing a sympathetic magic. Each ailment, nuisance, or curse is represented by a piece of linen that the witch burns over the victim of the curse. If the linen ignites but then falls to the ground, the curse is still active. But if it ignites and then the ashes rise up toward the sky, then the witch has lifted the curse. So I would totally be down to try that with you. Usually I do it with beeswax, where I say prayers, and many of you have had that experience with me, where I said prayers over a candle, lit the candle in your name, did a reading for you, burned the candle down. Then we looked at the wax and we trapped negative energies out of you in the wax. And then I used that wax to start my fires. But if you want to try it, Demi, I would totally be happy to get some flax or linen fibers and put a handkerchief on your head and light those flax and linen fibers above you and see if we can lift this curse. Because I know.
Absolutely. I was going to say, if it's okay to speak really quick, like the past 3 months and the things that I have been facing and deconditioning from one past to now the present, this is so spot on. So I would love to do that ceremony, because I think that would be the final closing from the past 3 months that I've been working through. What a blessing. Yeah.
Read this to you. Dark emotions like fear, doubt, jealousy, or wanting to have control can manifest into disease and into sick bureaucratic systems. The only way they can be destroyed for good is with powerful healing magic. There is an evil in this world, and not everyone does want the best for you, but you will be safe from wrongdoing with magic and prayer. Any negativity thrown your way, whether consciously or from someone who is merely jealous, doesn't have to bring you harm if you maintain a positive spiritual practice and you're gaining relationships with your spiritual allies. Negative forces can only win when you are ignorant or inactive, it says.
Wow.
Time to act superstitiously, because evil is afoot. Wear a string of red thread and carry a talisman made of pine or rowan for protection. Get out there and get yourself a pine cone and tie it with a little red string, and you put that in your purse.
You got it. No, you got it. This is so spot on. I'm so honored. Thank you. What a really sweet pull. Absolutely.
Awesome. All right, Vanessa, you're next, and your card is symbols. So I'm going to read it. Symbols. Slavic symbols contain protective, powerful divine energies. The celestial energies represented by these characters can be that of the deities within the Slavic pantheon, can be the sun, or even whole universes unto themselves. The kolovrat, the wheel containing 8 spinning spokes, it's this one, is a symbol used by Rodnovers, practitioners of Slavic native faith, to represent their beliefs, but it represents so much more. As the spokes travel in the circular motion, the shape denotes the sun. It's a powerful solar symbol. The direction of the spokes' movements and the number of spokes hold magic as well. A kolovrat with 8 spokes signifies the strength of the solar flame. A kolovrat with 8 spokes moving in clockwise direction invites the energies of the light deities of purity and peace, whilst a kolovrat with sparks moving in counterclockwise direction connects to the underworld. Another symbol possessing the magic of 8 is the alatir. The symbol is an 8-pointed star representing the folding and unfolding of the universe. 8-pointed star. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, that's not it. I think it might be this one here. Like the kolovrat and other Slavic symbols, it has various layers of meaning and can be used for magical purposes. Wearing these symbols as amulets or on clothing can grant the wearer protection and fortune, and can even strengthen the connection one has with all that the symbol represents. Early Slavs knew this, and this is why you see an array of symbols embroidered into their clothing. The symbols for the goddess Mokosh and the Alatir symbols are some of the most popular ones used within Slavic embroidery. You don't want to believe and follow through on what your gut is telling you. The signs are there, but maybe you'd rather ignore them in order to not have to make a responsible move. Don't be afraid of your power to see and do, for comfortability is not your friend. Whole worlds of magic and wonder are now accessible to you. You are able to see the hidden truth and understand the language of the gods. With this ability, you can connect to a deep sense of peace and magic, and you can trust knowing the secrets of the universe. This divine knowledge will change you and your reality, and you will never see things on a superficial level again. Everything you encounter in your life will have layers of meaning for you to unravel. Someone might be abusing their power or magic around you and creating obstacles that make it harder for you to feel hopeful. Pay attention to your intuition and what the signs are telling you. This does not call for facts or logic. The truth is that the signs never lie, and they're always there for those looking for them.
Yeah. It's crazy because the kolovrat, am I saying that right?
Kolovrat,
Kolovrat. The kolovrat, I couldn't stop staring at that when you held up the symbols card. It just was like, bing. And so when you started reading about it right off the gate, I was like, oh yeah, okay.
It's like all these little feet running in a
direction. You can almost hear them, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's really interesting because I won't say too much, but this sense of kind of being like trapped in comfort, and I feel like something's changing and I'm about to be really different. I can feel that. And I've been kind of clutching on to this kind of very frozen state, trying to get the same comfort that I got from all these comfort things in my life. And comfort's not so comfortable anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was really beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's so with that divination you did the other day, and just other things you've shared with our other classes. So I'm excited for you, because I think now you're getting like the confirmation that this isn't like anything hunting you, trying to like hurt you. It's that it will feel uncomfortable to grow, but that's actually a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, Mary Beth and then Simone. So Mary Beth, you got the housekeeping card with this guy. And I think that's so great, since you were just making your dandelion jelly the other day, picking the weeds in your yard and making medicine. That's so wonderful. Let's read yours. And then after Simone, we're going to do one for Lisa. Housekeeping. Okay, the domovoi. So this is the domovoi who we were talking about last month in this class. And if you weren't here last month, I have a YouTube channel called Tea and Tarot where I put these after they're done. So the domovoi is a male house spirit who, if treated well, will guard the home and everything within it, but if disrespected, can abandon the home or even cause it harm. To keep the house harmonious, people leave him offerings of milk and honey and try their best to make the home an inviting place for him. Cleaning behind one's oven and even sitting down for a bit before leaving the home are little things one can do to make the domovoi feel appreciated and welcome. Some Slavs believe that the domovoi is the spirit of the home's first head of household, honoring one's ancestors or the ancestors of the land on which the home rests. And these are traits that will grant one the domovoi's admiration and loyalty. Being messy or unappreciative can anger the domovoi and cause him to wreak havoc, or at least cause a few things to go missing. By treating him well, a family can expect the domovoi to bring them prosperity and even move with them to a new residence to ensure that every house the family lives in feels like home. Which last month, Valeria was sharing with us how they hadn't brought their house spirit when they came from Ukraine to here, and her mom had been feeling so bereft without it. But we talked about how she could maybe bring that spirit, call the spirit. And so I'm going to follow up. She's not here today, but I'm going to follow up and find out and see if her mom did that. Okay, so only when your house is in order can you rightfully enjoy luxuries. The sooner you work on completing the mundane but necessary tasks in your life, the sooner you're able to have your cake and eat it too. You have the honor of working for what you want in your life, which will make every success of yours even sweeter. Not only will you see the tangible results of your work, but you'll be able to feel the peace and relief that a job well done brings. You have allies in your corner, so you don't have to do everything on your own. Appreciate others and yourself by letting others help you. Get to work and start with the last thing that you want to do. If you find it difficult to begin, clean and organize your surroundings. As you clear your physical space, your mind will be free from clutter as well.
Yep, that's what's going on around here. We're getting rid of 10 years worth of crap.
Oh,
So that's just like perfect. I gave away 3 huge bags of yarn, 2 bags of clothes, and a bag of books last week. So this is just amazing. Thank you so much.
Oh, that's so great. Well, your domovoi is quite pleased with your efforts.
I hope so.
All right. So for you, Simone, it's time to banish anything that does not serve your glowing, wonderful, joyous energy. In order to welcome spring, winter is banished. Slavs do this by destroying the effigy of the Martsana. In Poland, the effigy is made of grain or straw. First, it's burned and then thrown into a body of water, and it occurs on the first day of spring. Some people believe this is an example of sacrificial magic, but there's no archaeological evidence of actual sacrifices ever taking place in Poland. The Martsana exemplifies the winter that's being banished, and it can sometimes symbolize a sacrifice given to the gods to ensure a fertile harvest in the coming year. But the larger percentage of people believe that the removal of the effigy from the town is an example of imitative magic, where the desecration of the effigy equates to them sternly banning all the negative things, nightmares, plagues, illness, and risk of winter. No matter the reasoning behind the specifics of this rite, spring always emerges when this ritual is complete. You have to accept the fact that some things and some people are not meant to be in your life forever. You don't have to rationalize them or make excuses. Instead of dwelling on the past, commit to just moving on and living your best life with the people and things that are the best fit for you. And you'll have to say goodbye for good to what and who doesn't serve your highest good, and you'll have to focus on all that means. Once you do, you will feel energized. You'll be able to laugh. You'll be able to share from your heart. And it is after times of pain or isolation that we find our true selves, our true power, and our true friends. You will be grateful for the experience that shows you just how strong and resilient you are. You can trade in the old for the new.
Thank you for that. Actually, I've been going through that this last couple of weeks. So
Wow.
I'm grateful for that poll because it was dead on spot. So thank you.
You know what, if you wanted to imitate this ritual at home, if this feels powerful to you, you know, those little bundles of sage, you know, that people use, you can just get like a little bundle of sage or a little bundle of herbs. You can consecrate that as your effigy. You can pour water into a bowl. You can light that sage and get it really burning. And as you're doing that, you're saging your house, but you're actually drowning this, you know, effigy, and then drown it in the water and take the whole thing outside and dump it.
Oh, that's perfect. I will do that. Thank you.
And then be clear and enjoy your glow up.
Yes. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you. Thank you for letting me read for you. And all right, Lisa, for you, and let me know if anyone else wants a card. Let me check in the chat. Jennifer, yes. Okay, great. Okay, wonderful. And Marie. So we've got for Jennifer, no, for Lisa, divination is your card. So let me read that to you. Everything in life can be taken as a sign or an omen. On the summer solstice, everything from the way the smoke rises at a bonfire to the way a wreath floats across a lake can give details into someone's future. Unmarried women can divine the fates of their love lives by laying wreaths into the water. A wreath that floats away without getting stuck on a branch or a tree signifies success in love and an upcoming marriage. A wreath that sinks or gets stuck denotes another year of singledom or a time of rectifying failed romance from the past. It says, your trust and over-reliance on the guidance of others and even on their fortune telling can block your ability to create and live the life you want. What is meant to be will come to pass. After you've declared your intent for the best possible outcomes in your life, there's nothing else for you to do but wait and watch what happens. Surrender to the unknown. Let go of your expectations or preferences. Once you do this, you will find that life will reward you for your trust. Life is to be lived. It has events that mark its passage of time, but you don't have to have your life stop because of these events, nor do you need to change the course of your life. Don't compare yourself to others, their successes, or even their failures. The path that your life will take will be bright. Don't pressure yourself or forget your true nature. You are headed on the right path as long as you follow your true north, go with the flow, and just wait and see.
Thank you. That was good. It's got me a lot to think about.
One thing, if you don't mind me saying so, that I thought of when I see this is that I know that recently your first love was in the hospital and passing away. And even though you're no longer with that person, that can be really a painful loss. You know, it sort of points to one's own fragility and mortality to lose someone with whom we've been intimate, with whom we've cared, you know, and shared. So I think there may be something here that's like, you know, don't worry about whether that relationship began or how it ended or anything, you know, like maybe there's some forgiveness and letting go in that person's passing that will be for you, you know, somehow clarifying or healing, and that you don't have to, you know, like carry anything that's painful from the past forward.
Right. That's what it made me think of too. Yeah, Yeah, he's still here.
Mm.
And I'm trying to go see him, so I haven't been able to, but we were like best friends afterwards, you know, so we were pretty close. But
Good.
yeah, that's what it made me think of was that situation as well. Thank you very much.
You're
That was good.
welcome. You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for letting me read for you. And then, okay, next we have Jennifer. Jennifer, uh-oh, get ready to be read, Jennifer. Here it comes. You got Drain, the vampire being drained, the woman being drained. For some, life on earth didn't end after death. Those who could continue on as the living dead were impious persons, those born with unique characteristics, those who died unnaturally, including being those who died from plagues or those who didn't receive a proper burial. This is very serious. In Slavic folklore, these undead beings become vampires who could reanimate their corpses or materialize into shadow copies of their bodies after drinking a sip of blood. To prevent these life force predators from draining local animals and members of their living family, or worse yet, from reproducing, certain rites were performed. Confirmation and other Christian rituals were believed to save the soul from vampirism, but before the advent of Christianity, the vampire's body would be burned, decapitated, buried deep in the earth, or pinned down by an iron or wooden stake in its heart, head, or tongue. In 2012, Polish archaeologists found what was believed to be vampire graves as skeletons were discovered with rocks under their chins and sickle knives over their throats. It's been concluded that these were once the bodies of the first in the region to die from cholera, and that the placement of these objects was meant to prevent the bodies from resurrecting as vampires who could further spread more death and disease. It says, your inability to let things go, old hurts and toxic people might be damaging. Live your life as if the past never happened. That way you can never be held down. If you don't stop putting yourself in unsavory or tempting positions or listening to pessimistic people, you could get hurt. Don't enable bad behavior or tolerate things that disturb you. It's time to move away from darkness and toward light. Don't be caught up in fear. Don't forget who you are. Although you might feel powerless, sometimes you are not. You have the ability to be in charge of your life and to live in peace. All you need to do is to shut and seal the door on anyone or anything that would suggest otherwise. Don't allow yourself to be compromised. Safeguard your word and your reputation. Start by saying no, and then act in accordance, looking forward and not looking back. Whew, that's a pretty serious, heavy-hitting card there, sister. Yeah. We're just sitting with this because that's a big, big message. There's a lot of don't in that card interpretation. A lot of don't do this, don't do that. But I think it's all valuable, you know, to say, okay, don't allow anything to disrespect you. Don't allow anything to compromise you, and that you don't have to do anything you don't feel comfortable with. All seems really important. And I know that in your work, you know, you regularly are in positions where there might be risk involved, or there might be, you're dealing with people who have died in horrible ways. Jennifer works as a firefighter. And so it's entirely possible that you might want to kind of think about what you're going to do, maybe working with a talisman, so that you don't bring any of that home with you after work, you know, that you can really like leave it there and not bring that energy home with you. Okay, and then for Marie, you have rebirth. Eggs have always been seen as symbols of life and rebirth. The Christians view decorated Easter eggs called pisyanki as symbols of just that. But the symbols drawn onto these eggs reveal that these pieces of art represent so much more. The popular symbols of the sunburst and lightning bolts on the egg are allusions to the times when the sun god and lightning gods, Svarog and Perun, were openly worshipped. The pussy willow leaves, flowers, and bees drawn on the eggs using natural dye, a kitska, beeswax, and a candle flame were the same symbols drawn on the eggs when they were made in ancient times for the spring festival in honor of the spring god, Yarilo. Yarilo is the embodiment of spring who dies every winter only to be reborn again on the last day of February. It says, don't allow a mind cluttered with distractions disguised as viable choices to confuse you. You need to meditate to gain clarity on what is best for you now. You have a limitless amount of opportunity and paths are open to you. All you need to do is to pick one and you will be reborn. There's no need to wait or for anything to end or for anything to begin in order to live differently. Every choice you make provides you with the opportunity to live differently and access new, fresh energies. You have not missed out on anything. Any missed opportunity will always reappear in time, even when you feel like you've squandered it. You will always be given the chance to make mistakes or to correct them. It's just a matter of waiting for the chance. And it says, pick a goal and focus on it. I love the image of rebirth here for you, Marie. That's wonderful. And the promise that anything that seems like it was removed or gone or you missed out, that it has a possibility to come back. It's really good. All right. Anyone else want a card before I draw my own? I'm going to draw one. I'm super scared to draw one. You know why I'm scared, because I don't want that card. Okay, let's try. Oh, illumination. Okay, we can all breathe. I don't want to piss her off. I'm actually going to take that card out of this deck and I'm going to put a piece of tape over it with the word wise woman. And I'm going to put it on her altar and I'm going to take a picture of that and I'm going to send it in my letter. And I'm going to say, you know what? I'm over here doing magic for you so that you won't die horribly, just so you know. Not that you deserve it, but that's just who I am as a person. Okay. All right. So illumination. Get here. Okay. The Gromnica is a blessed candle traditionally made of beeswax. Its name, which translates to thunder candle, alludes to the Slavic god of thunder and lightning, Perun. It was during thunderstorms that ancient Poles would carry these candles to protect their homes from being struck by lightning. Nowadays, these candles are reserved for even more occasions, holidays like the Presentation of the Lord or Gromnica on February the 2nd, births, deaths, and at times of magic. The light from this candle is believed to not only give protection, but to illuminate one's path. Whether it be to illuminate the path of the soul into this world at birth, communion, or marriage, or to light the path out of this world during the last rites, pagan Slavs believed that this light is to be shown to guide the way through major transitions. This is really deep. When a witch wants to initiate massive change or take a new path in life, she can use this candle for powerful witchcraft. By twisting 3 individual beeswax candles toward her to make a traditional Gromnica, she can light it for magic that will incite internal changes. By twisting the 3 individual beeswax candles away from her to make the candle, she will ignite external changes. By lighting a candle made of 3 individual stems, she can have her prayers heard by the spirit world. And by lighting a candle made of 7 or 9 stems, she will be sure to dispel any darkness. There are things in this world to be sad about, but you mustn't reflect on them for too long. Give yourself time to ceremoniously grieve what should be grieved now. You are at an intersection in life where you can see the light. You are now aware of your true desires and purpose, and it is easy to accept all of who you truly are, even accepting the darkness within others. After this conscious acceptance, you will step into a higher degree of power and magic where you can change worlds. Anything you choose to do from the heart will be supported by the gods and will quickly manifest. Anything you begin to do that's not from the heart will be more difficult than ever before. Well, that makes it convenient. It says you will become more balanced and you will see that giving in to your dark fantasies can be liberating. It's true. Lately, I've been feeling like I was getting ready to start making TikTok videos. This is my shadow fantasy, is to be a celebrity on TikTok. So who knows? Maybe I'll make a video. Let divinity flow through you. In Slavic paganism, it is believed that people are the grandchildren of the gods, so act like it. Remind yourself and others that divinity is in your blood by using your magic to bless someone, brighten someone's day, or even change someone's world. Well, I'm going to tell you why this is deep for me personally. I have my father's Gromnica candle that was consecrated at his first communion. And when he died in 2018, I brought it home with me and I've been saving it. And what was interesting is that it's broken. It was one candle, but it was broken into two. Just the candle itself broke. It's so old. So I've been thinking that I was going to do some magic with that candle, but I haven't been sure what to do. So it's just been sitting in my drawer and I've been waiting for the sign when I was going to use this candle. And now I feel like what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that candle that's broken in the two pieces. I'm going to light one piece for the next moon and just, honor what needs to be honored right now and ask for my dad's blessing and for his life force to be liberated from any constraints in this world that keep him from fulfilling his complete divine purpose in the spirit realm, and inviting him to stay if he wants to, if that's his joy. And then I'm going to save the other half of it and I'm going to burn it on his birthday in September. And then I'm going to let myself feel like that'll be 3 years since his death in November. And I think it's true that I'm coming out of what that grief was like and into something different. But I haven't really been there yet. But I think I'm going to burn these candles and I'm going to just let it be so. So we got some really powerful cards today, everybody. Thank you for coming. And, to Annelle Reed and Cindy Monroy, thank you so much for creating this oracle. I'll be writing to you about the Baba Yaga card. I do believe we'll be able to work on that. And everybody, we'll see you next month for Tea and Tarot again. Have a great rest of April. Happy Beltane, and we'll see you all soon. Bye. Thank you.